You're ready.
So did you do any calculations today? You're going to be ready on Thursday? We're going to rock and roll?
I got some calculations.
Yeah, I bet you do.
I'll work it.
Are you still using the abacus or?
Oh, no. I'll go on a spreadsheet with the whole. That's the way I roll. Yeah, no.
Some positive? All right, good.
Yeah, I think it is going to be fine.
Dave, you're killing me.
Guys ready?
When you're out of them, body temperature was at 100 degrees.
I email us the other night. Yes. I want to announce I felt like big cheers. I mean, normally I keep out pretty cold anyway because we have right? So I want to keep them. Usually I keep them out about 73.
Oh, Sam, we've been lower than that, yeah.
Yeah, I want to keep them. It's colder inside than it was outside.
Okay, we'll call our meeting, a city council meeting for Tuesday, October 19th to order. I'd like to have everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you please remain standing for a moment of silence? Thank you. Okay, thank you all very much. Moment of silence is sort of like going out in the woods, just closing your eyes a little bit and just reflect what's going on in the day and what's coming in the future. Action taken in closed session. We had 3 sessions. First session, conference with labor negotiators. There are 3 negotiations going on right now, fire, non-exempt, and exempt. And I'm happy to report that with fire MOU, we have a tentative agreement. Under the non-exempt and exempt MOU discussions, direction was given to the negotiators, who are Craig Turco and myself. As a comment, I'll get to it in a minute, but we have a couple of people missing tonight. Rick Downey was detained at his new job over in Santa Rosa, and also our city administrator is currently ill, and we do not expect him to be here for probably a week and a half or 2 weeks. He's ill. Continuing on, so with the non-exempt and exempt, direction was given. Item number 2, employee evaluation, city engineer. We're going to continue that item to our next meeting. And under number 3, we show 3 potential cases. On one of the cases, there was a settlement, and on the other 2, there's been no action at this time. We come to the next item on page number 2. That has to do with our agenda. And I'd like to ask anyone for any possible changes in sequencing or change in the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I have one item, if it's okay with the council. I'd like to pull item number 4, the resolution regarding the sidewalk waiver for CAL FIRE. I didn't receive any estimates. I'm still waiting for estimates from the contractors, and that's something that I know you wanted, so I haven't received them as of today. Hopefully I'll have them at the next meeting, so there's no really issue with that. So
You want to continue that?
yeah, just continue that to the next meeting.
Dave, could you also provide us with the estimate, the previous estimate?
Yeah.
So we'll have both of them.
Yeah, and I think that one's in your packet right now, I think, as a part of your
Oh,
package.
it's a little bit different, but okay.
Okay.
All right,
But well, I'll make sure you get it.
all right, thanks.
Any other changes? Is that all right with everyone? Okay. Moving now to staff updates. And we'll start on the left with Gary.
Good evening.
Hi, Gary.
I'm Gary Neal, the city engineer. I assume you've got my staff update this week in the packet. The wastewater plant, we're moving towards completion. The schedule right now is the UV startup is scheduled for the week of October 25th.
Really?
We're still trying to coordinate with Redico to get their personnel out here to do the startup with the city. 99% of the work is done up at Holman, except for the floating buoy and one cable to anchor it down. And the inflow and metering structure is pretty much completed and online, so we're actually in good measurements of it. It hasn't been factory certified, but they want to extend it to the
Who will actually calibrate and certify?
from the factory.
Okay.
They actually come out here and do that?
In terms of recalibrating that, is that an electrical kind of a?
It's a magnetic flow meter similar to the same like we have up at the water plant.
Yeah.
So the staff will be able to do the calibration.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's that one. The water plant, they started working on the flow meter and the bypass. They're waiting for some parts to complete the flow meter, and they're supposed to be back up there, I think it's on the way back up there next week. They're trying to wrap that up. We'll also be out there tomorrow morning because the EPA has the forebay down, and we'll figure out how to finish that screening structure because we had some complications due to the shape of the forebay when we tried to put it in. So we'll be out there tomorrow morning to do that. So that'll get moving back on. I don't have a schedule yet. I talked to Garrett, and we're kind of trying to figure out the window to let the contractor work. It's probably going to be December by the time we get to the solar. The other part of it. Any questions on that?
Utica Power is going to be like a whole month. They'll be. Do they say anything? And I don't have the current information, but as far as I know, the only impact will be on irrigation accounts. It won't be on domestic water. I don't think there's any request to conserve on the part of domestic water use. Is that you were there on my behalf, I think, were you, or is that the month before?
That was the month before, I think. We
Yeah.
didn't talk about that.
And you were there?
Yeah, there was
But
no
it just-
discussion about conservation. There's just the ag users will have, could be, have an issue.
But everyone should be aware that there's major annual repairs and major work underway by Utica Power on the flume system. But it happens every year.
Gary, when do you anticipate Holman will be done with the float and all that?
We have to be completed on the entire project by November 16th based on the stimulus deadline. So that's the issue.
And besides that, you want to start pumping up there.
Well, there's already water going in there.
Oh, is there?
The buoy goes on the end of about a 70-foot
Oh, okay.
tube, not tube, but hose that's out there, so it floats on the water, so they can, it's just laying on the bank. You can actually do that. And what else? The parking lot project, I'm sure you've all seen that. We're pretty much close to finishing that. We're just going to wait for the concrete to cure and open it up. Susan's already opened pretty much finished. We have a few minor things to touch up maybe before the end of the project. And I think that's about it.
Anybody driven into Sue's?
No.
Pretty nice
Parking lot? It's nice. When will the concrete be ready to be?
November 8th is the 28 days if the city wants to wait that long.
What do you say?
In my experience, especially with as thick as that thing ended up, I'd take a chance and open it in a couple of weeks. But you do have some risk doing that if, something happens. Like your truck drives in the cracks and the problem not on the contractor.
Anybody have any reports of negative impact downtown?
No, I don't. Everybody likes it.
Yeah. in terms of not having parking at the, next to thrift shop people.
Always get bitching about parking.
Yeah, but it is sort of been slow time.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd keep, unless anybody has any, I'd go for the full cure cycle because there are large trucks that go in there, not huge, but large ones. Okay. Any questions? Mary?
Mary Helen C. I just have two things. On November 9th, there will be a free yard waste pickup by SEI, which we do every year. It will be, we have to have the trash out by 6 a.m. just so the citizens know. I have told you this at the post offices. It'll be on the website. And the other thing is I will be gone next week, Thursday and Friday, to attend the RMA, which Mr. Richards would have attended probably.
Where are they having their meeting?
Fresno.
Fresno, okay.
And that's the Risk Management Authority, which is our workers' comp liability. So that's quarterly, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Richard?
All pass.
Melissa?
Melissa Ralston, Finance Officer. The audit has been completed. I believe that Bryant Valley will be doing his presentation the second council meeting in November. I'm working with Springbrook. Looks like we'll be doing probably utility billing module first, and we should be up and live with that by January, and then we'll have the rest of our modules. We should be up and running by the end of March. So that's progressing pretty well.
Have we thought about, there's going to be some enhancements for the ratepayers in terms of how they could bill and stuff like that, right?
Correct.
So have we thought about how we're going to package that in terms of advertising that and getting it out to the public? You may want to think about that because I think that's an important component to this. It's an enhancement to the citizens. So
right.
I think we should probably, I don't know if, in addition to the website, maybe something else, maybe a brief description, when it comes online to the residents,
and all that.
Yeah, maybe use a little slideshow or something. I think that would be important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they will be able to access their own account and things like that. So.
Yeah, so I just think it would be good. So.
We could be putting something into the next billing.
Once we get into the billing system, we can do that.
Yeah.
Right now, we're not even close.
Just some food for thought.
Mm-hmm. Good idea. Okay.
Anything else, Melissa?
No.
Todd.
Hello, Todd Fordall, Interim Police Chief. The only thing I have to add is the revisions that we submitted to the county for the dispatch contract have been received. I was hoping to have heard something back. They're apparently slated to go before the Board of Supervisors November 2nd at their November 2nd meeting. So hopefully whatever little final tweaks need to be made will be made before then, and we'll be ready to go after that.
So we're paying the higher dispatch rate right now for 5 months and possibly 6 while they figure this out, right? We thought about maybe asking to go back, reverting back to what we were until they get this. Maybe that would help expedite this whole process.
We can ask. You bet.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I mean, it's a legitimate question because, we jacked up the cost. We've since agreed in principle, and all the parties agreed on their heads in this 24/7 dispatch, but yet we're still paying at the higher premium for the 16-hour dispatch.
Correct.
Yeah.
Good. I can make that request tomorrow via email to Captain Macedo's.
Do you see a downside to that, Richard?
Sorry, I was reviewing something I missed that.
We're talking about the rate, the
Dispatch rate.
We're paying at the high rate for the 16 hours that we, I don't know if we necessarily agreed on. We just kind of was told that's what we have to do. So we've been paying for the last 5 months. This is actually could go into a 6 month now, if depending how long we wait to expedite and kind of push them. Could we say, well, let's go back to the old rate until you guys figure this out? I mean, I don't understand. Like I said, I don't understand why the county takes so long to, and it's in their best interest to do this, I think, because they wanted to do this. So
reviewed that document 2 or 3 times.
That's what he's talking about,
Yeah.
the delay. It's still going to be delayed now until maybe November 2nd.
Give it a shot. You know, if it doesn't fly, then we could see how long we're going to drag it on. But
I will do that.
I appreciate it.
You and Melissa take a look at what he's written up.
I'm sorry, I know Mr.
No,
Matry.
but you two are going to take a look at what he's proposing. Did you agree on the number, the dollar amount?
Oh, yeah, that's all done. No, that's all done. All I want to know is I want them to agree to sign off on it, and then we start the process. That's where we're
What's the
at.
dollar amount that he's going to be proposing?
Whatever the old one was.
The old rate, and I don't recall what it is off the top.
That's what I wanted to know, what it is.
Oh, I can research it and
Something like 98?
98,000, something like that.
In the 90. Something like that.
around there.
You have it.
I'll give you the exact figure. Yeah, I just don't have it with me.
Okay. So we give him a little impetus, the consensus of the city council is we'll be paying at that rate until they finish their deliberations.
Understood.
Discussed and agreed to with the city council.
Because if they're not going to meet on it till November 2nd, it won't get done on November 2nd, that's for sure.
Anything else, Todd?
No, sir.
Thank you. Dave?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dave Hannon, Director of Planning and Building. My written report's in there. I'm just going to comment on a couple of items. The LAPCO, the council received, I think you should have all received a draft of the annexation agreement, or the tax sharing portion of it, and looking for comments. And I've also scheduled or tried to get meeting dates from the county to set something up to meet with them to discuss this. In terms of the the tree preservation ordinance, the Planning Commission is basically taking their last review as a draft form, and that'll be coming before them at their next meeting for a recommendation to the City Council. And then the last thing is regarding with COG, with the JPA. We met, staffs met on last Tuesday?
Supposed to meet Friday afternoon.
Yeah, we met Friday afternoon. I think we've come to pretty much a good resolution, and next Tuesday, Mary and Jamie and I will be putting together those changes and be ready to present them to the City Council and move forward. So everything's moving forward on that project, and that's all I have, unless you have any particular project.
How'd the meeting go?
I think it went well. I think once we kind of simplified some things, and we took the tact of amending the old JPA instead of just totally throwing it out. So the county was receptive to that, and they were receptive to the change, most of the changes that we made, and so I think it worked out well. So.
Any public members there?
There were 2 public members there, and then Mr. McSorley was there from the COG, and he provided input, and so I think it was a good meeting.
Yeah. Did you happen to go?
No.
Okay. It was a meeting of staff.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes council members show up at meetings of staff.
That's right.
As long as you don't say anything, you can
Right.
go.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
That's good. We have a report in here from City Administrator Dave Richards. Any questions on it? One of the ones that really bothers me is the first item there, hazard mitigation in terms of the mapping, and that's gone on for forever.
We met, Mr. Richards and I met with the county. We gave them, even from the previous, we gave them all our shape files for our general plan map. There were a couple of maps that we couldn't create what they wanted because the maps that were created in the study were done by the consultant, so we didn't have the capabilities. But I have sent an email to the county allowing them to allowing them to use the CAL FIRE map.
Okay.
And so then they can work with CAL FIRE in getting that map in the proper format that they need. So that's in terms of the mapping, that's the last issue, I think, on that.
Any other question? Any questions on Dave Richards' report? Okay, thanks. We'll go on now to council updates. And we'll start on the right. Elaine, please.
Okay. I attended the LAFCO meeting last night for Mayor Lynch, and we had a presentation on the water and wastewater municipal service reviews that were done, and it was reported that there will be a public draft of the MSR is out in October. No, November. That's right. A public draft will be out for comment in November, and a public hearing will be held in December. That's it.
Since we last met, there's been no committee meetings. However, we have met with the MOU groups twice, once on the 13th and once today, the 19th. And so we'll continue, where appropriate, those discussions.
Jack?
Like Craig said, there's been no committee meetings except I attended LAFCO last night, of course, and we discussed the MSRs and a little bit on the sphere of influence, but nothing. They're trying to get everything coordinated so that when the new MSR comes out, it'll actually show our proposed sphere of influence instead of the existing sphere.
For the benefit of the public, could you tell them what the MSR letters mean?
Well, they're required that LAFCO do these every 5 years, and therefore municipalities, of which we're the only one, and they're also for special districts, which there's a whole flock of those in this county, UPA, which I felt myself was kind of strange last night. I think there was only one or two special districts there. UPA was there, and UPUD was there, and that's about it. All these little ones down around Burson and Wallace and San Andreas and all over those, none of those people were there. But it's a thing that it's a document that comes out that shows where everything's supposed to be that has been moved in the last 5 years or has been added in the last 5 years. And I'm talking about subdivisions, sewer plants, things that grow in the night. Everything is supposed to be documented. It's a very interesting process. It was an interesting meeting.
Anything else?
Nope.
On Wednesday, September 6th, I attended the Central Sierra Planning Group, and they meet on a quarterly basis. The news there was that there's 3 counties, Calaveras, Amador, and Alpine, that are currently in that Central Sierra Planning. But now Mariposa County is joining it, and to have an opportunity to meet those people. I was sitting in for Elaine, who was not able to attend it. She regularly sits on that group. On Thursday, the 7th of September, and again today, I was with Craig on the MOU's discussions. We had a special, last Thursday, we had a special meeting of Utica Power in the evening. It was a closed session. And on last Wednesday, the 13th, CTC, that's the California Transportation Council. There's 11 commissioners that look at transportation throughout the whole state of California. They visited our area, and there was a meeting held at Ironstone, and the various groups all spoke. The commissioners were interested in what's going on in the area in the way of transportation projects. Pretty good attendance at Ironstone. Last Friday on the 15th, we had the facilities infrastructure meeting, and on Saturday, I had the pleasure of attending the Mark Twain festival. Many of you probably saw write-ups in the paper. I also purchased his autobiography. The guy's been dead 100 years, and he finally releases his autobiography. And the reason for that was he didn't want to offend anybody, and he does take pretty good shots at people. It's a fascinating book. It's about that thick, and incidentally, that's only Volume 1. Volume 2 and Volume 3 will probably be as thick, but they're not going to be out for anywhere from 3 to 5 years. These are all his dictated notes of his whole life, and the guy is amazing. I'll tell a little story which just fascinated the heck out of me, and I apologize for boring you, but anyway, it was really an interesting one, because he talks a lot about political people, politicians. I'm not a politician, but I'm in a political role. An ancestor of Samuel Clemens in one of the states, and I'm not certain what the state was out campaigning. And in those days, the 1800s, if you didn't like the person that was going to campaign, they had people called drummers. These would be people that show up with a set of drums, and when the person like a Jack Lynch gets up to make a political speech, the drummers would start. And so his relative looked out and he saw 5 drummers out there, and they were all sitting down in the front row where you're sitting and you're sitting and you're sitting, and they had their drums out, and they're all ready for Jack Lynch to get up to speak. And so his relative reaches into his holster, takes out his pistol, and he puts it right down there. And he said, "Well, good evening, everyone." He said, "You know, I have a real bad aversion to drums. In fact, it's so severe that I shoot at them." And he said, "The only word of advice I'd like to give to the people with the drumsticks, don't stand behind them." And then he went into his speech. Of course, those guys didn't dare touch it with the gun out there. Sometimes, do we have any feelings like that?
I can hear a beat happening as we speak.
Okay. I'll stop talking about that right now. And I have no further comments for the public under council updates.
Good story.
But if you haven't seen that book, it's worth buying. It's about $35, and it's a terrific book. Okay, let's move now to public comment. I'd like to have people step forward and give your name, and please limit your conversations to 3 minutes if you can. We're generous in that regard.
Hi, I'm Robin DeBell.
Can everybody hear her?
Do you want my address again? Or?
You can't hear you.
Robin DeBell? Is it on?
Is it on?
Lift it up.
Yeah, just get it closer to your mouth.
Robin DeBell?
How's that? Everybody hear it now? Okay.
And I'm here to talk about the foul odor on Finnegan Lane. I spoke a little over a year ago on the subject of breathing raw sewage and how sickening it is on Finnegan. I live out there and notice it every day. I did research on the health concerns of breathing this foul, obnoxious, fecal material. I contacted many groups like the EPA, Center for Disease Control, Public Health Department, Doctors for Social Responsibility, etc. The bottom line was that it is a concern for young and old people. I figure we have over 60 people who live in the area. We have a family with 2 small girls who live 100 to 150 feet from the manhole covers. At times they cannot open their windows at night. They can't go out for barbecue. They cannot go out with friends, just visiting in the yard. Back then, over a year ago, I said I would fight for those little girls, and I think that's what I have to do. I know you guys are working at something, but it's taken a bit too long. My brother is a contractor, and he noticed the odor, and he told me that the quickest and best way to take care of this is to band together as a community, hire a lawyer, and sue the city. We know that by allowing this problem to continue, it breaks city ordinances. And John Broder, I guess, isn't here, but he could tell you what they are because he tells you at every meeting. I understand the cost of fixing the problem would be about $1 million. I also heard that we have maybe $6 million and $1 million in some kind of funds, slush funds for the water and sewage department problems. If we sue the city, it'll cost us money, and then you guys are going to have to hire an attorney, and that'll cost money to fix the problem, and it really shouldn't go to attorney fees. I want to know what's the proper way to get this resolved without a lawsuit, and can we somehow use that money to fix this problem now? Because I'm really sick and tired of feeling awful, having to cover my face with fabric, not just one layer. I have to have a lot of fabric on my face to just walk through the area or drive through it. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment. We do cover that in the facilities infrastructure, and so I would think that would be a good place, Robin, to come. Those meetings are the third Wednesday, third Friday, and there will be a meeting. We just had a meeting last Friday, and it was talked about at that meeting, and we will have a continuation of that. It's on the agenda. It's fixed on the agenda, and so please come to it. I know you have been to at least one or two of the meetings, but it is on the agenda, and we are monitoring where that is. There are steps taken to mitigate it, but I think it would be worthwhile for you to hear what is actually going on at that meeting. With respect to the filing a lawsuit, I don't know how you, any advice or comments on that regard?
Well, it's difficult to discuss your strategy in open session, so that unfortunately puts the council in a predicament.
Right.
And I hope that the statement that was the quickest way to resolve the matter was not a serious one, because that's not a quick way to resolve the matter.
There's a recognition universally by the council and members of the facilities infrastructure to correct it. And right now we have and we talked about the fact that we have detailed plans. We picked an option, and we have a price on that. And at this point in time, the search is going to be for a grant, and we talk about that at the facilities infrastructure meeting in detail. So please come, and you'll hear further developments on it there. Anybody else want to chime in? Okay. Other public comments?
Steve DeFew, 576 Sauce. One question for Dave Ham on his staff report. Was the paper accurate in detailing your meeting that the city has agreed to the 3 public members for the COG committee in your negotiations?
That was just one. That was one of the items that we discussed, and that was an option. That was the city's preferred alternative for that item. But nothing has been.
The city? You mean the county?
No.
Didn't the city make a decision that they wanted one?
Well, after
our city,
we did, and then we talked about that. We've talked about that with the infrastructure, and we've talked about with that to the council, and we thought that the structure that was existing was adequate. However, there are some caveats. There are some caveats to the language that was added to the new agreement with revolving citizen participation based on their years of term. So whether it was agreed upon, we're still putting that through. It still has to go in front of the council to agree on. That's something that the staff's talked about, and that's something that the council and the board of supervisors would have to approve.
Okay, well, the reason why I was asking this question, so it wouldn't be another delay, is the council in agreement? Was that your direction? I thought it was a dialogue about wanting one public member on the COG.
I think, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it was a mixed bag, Steve. I think that several council members felt that one was appropriate. Several felt that the existing.
What was the
direction was for staff to go hammer it out, and once you get the minor details and some of the major ones dealt with, then all we're really dealing with is a couple of fine-tuning the major ones. So if that's an impasse or that's something that this council feels we should steadfast with one or steadfast with three, that's the time we'll discuss that. They were just hammering at all the major issues.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
But to save time, I think I would be interested in getting an update from you folks. Are we 3-2 for one, or are we 3-2 for three on our vote, or what's going on? Because
I don't think as far as the direction was, for the first time, the three staffs were meeting last Friday. That was for the first time.
Yeah, I understand, Jack.
And we gave them no direction. We said that the best thing to do was for the staff to talk about the mechanics, but it would include COG, the county, and city. And we gave them no direction.
For that meeting, but you folks talked about wanting one at your city council meeting. So to save time, I was just wondering, because in the paper, McSorley is confident that it's going to be three public members on the thing. So you guys just want to wait for the second meeting, come back, and maybe take some more time on it?
Well, I think we need to give staff the opportunity to hammer it out, because that's what we really wanted to do.
All right, thanks.
Any other public comments? If not, we'll come back up here, and next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and that's the minutes of our regular meeting of October 5th. And are there any questions on the minutes? I have one question. Under Dave Richards, and he's not here, on page 2, Mary, project 2352, and it mentions Dave Richards to follow up with the city engineer, project 2352. What's 2352? If you don't know, it's all right, but
Yeah, I asked that. It has to do with improvement standards update. I was curious what that was, because I don't see it in the budget as a project.
Okay, I remember it now.
That is an update to the city's improvement standards on 7/1/1998, and the cost of that are still coming out of various engineering amounts of the budget, and it's not listed as a separate project. It's just coming out of, part of it comes out of water, part of it comes out of wastewater, part of it comes out of PFD.
But, I get that part, but is it budgeted as an item? Like, for example, item 2352, improvement standards update, will be coming from different funds. Where would a council member see that?
In the budget itself, under water and wastewater, there are amounts for engineering, same thing with the traffic part and the TOT. I'd say I went through it with Melissa. And it was intended just that it just comes out of those engineering costs. It wasn't a specific form of project. It was just normal course of doing engineering.
So, okay, well, I guess as we get into the next wave of the budgets, not that they're not important projects, I'm certainly not suggesting that, but I think that if we're going to move forward, if we just have a line item that says engineering costs, that we probably need to know what that is, maybe not in the nth detail, but maybe in a larger umbrella, saying, well, they're kind of going, this is what the generality is, this is what this is all about. So,
are those standards on pipe size, drains?
Those are standards the city uses for all the streets, the sewer. Well, I've been talking about it for over a year now.
Okay.
So we're in the process of updating the construction standards for the city and that would have to do with pipe sizes, fittings.
No, I'm okay with that. I just wanted to make sure I could reconcile, where the monies were going, that's all.
What I think needs to be done is that there needs to be, on my part, a little closer looking at what goes on in infrastructure and the duties that are assigned and monitoring them with what's in our budget. Because that's where these are coming out of.
Okay.
And that's something that you're working on in terms of, not you necessarily, but the standards.
Yeah.
Updating the standards.
Yeah, our zoning standards and those types of things, yeah.
So you're saying that any kind of financial things that come through the infrastructure that's going to impact the budget in some way, that's got to be somehow detailed to you so you can figure out where it is, where it's
Or
been
just so that I
allocated?
know, right, just so that I'm aware of what's coming and how much money we're going to be spending. Okay, Gary and I talked about it today, so I'm going to try to work on something to pay a little bit more attention to what's, being discussed.
Okay, so just to tighten it up. Okay.
And those are primarily, again, building standards?
Roads and, yeah, those types of
City
things.
improvements.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you'd ask and I'd ask. Any other corrections? If not, I'd like to have a motion that we
So moved.
accept the minutes.
Second.
It's been moved by Turco and seconded by Morris that we accept the consent agenda, which is the City Council minutes of October 5th. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, carries 5-0. 4-0. Yeah, thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Rick told me that he was going to vote for it.
Yeah. Thank you.
He's going to go thumbs up.
Okay. Item number 1, Resolution 10-30. This is the accepting the work on Stockton Road overlay project.
Your name's on it, yeah.
Yes, you have a resolution before you accepting the work on the Stockton Road overlay project. You also have a memorandum for me certifying all the work is complete. The total project cost was right around $103,000. All of this money came in the form of the stimulus grant. I'm sure some of you understand that City Hall one time when we were
Yes.
trying to hurry to get this money. So this is kind of pretty much the last step in it. The final invoice was sent to Caltrans this week, so we should get reimbursement for the things I know with Melissa. They're just start tracking some of these monies when they come in, and so we'll look at it. So my recommendation is the council go ahead and approve resolution number 10-30 authorizing the mayor to sign the notice of completion and get it filed with the county and accept the work as complete.
Questions for him? Nope. Any public comment?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there anything special about that asphalt that we laid on Stockton Road? Just kidding. We'll let it go at that.
Special benefit?
No. Is there anything special about the asphalt?
Oh, okay.
Just plain old asphalt? No benefit? No special benefit to that asphalt? Gotcha. Okay, just checking. Thank
Okay.
you.
Any public comment? If there's none, we'll bring it back up here. I'd like to have a motion to accept Resolution 10-30.
Mayor, I move that we accept Resolution 10-30, accepting work on the Stockton Road overlay project.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Boding and seconded by Morris that we accept resolution. We move Resolution 10-30. Call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, carries 4-0. Incidentally, it's a good job. I think the cat eyes on the area there, on that curve is good.
You bet. You bet.
Item number 2 on our agenda is a belt press purchase recommended from the infrastructure facilities. We had discussion of it
2 or 3
last Friday, and Garrett Walker and Dave Richards. Dave is not here. Garrett will talk to us about this. Can you tell us a little bit about the background of it and what its function will be?
Sure. Belt filter press is associated with sludge thickening. The reason we're hoping to purchase this, I gave a memorandum to David Richards on June 16th. I also originally had it in the budget to purchase. One of the things we're concerned about is when the UV comes online, there's a consistent turbidity that needs to be maintained, and sometimes that can be compromised during the winter months because of an overabundance of sludge from the city. And so what we have looked into doing is purchasing a used belt filter press based on the recommendation of Bill Purley from CCWD, who has purchased 3 used belt filter presses over the past couple years. And so we've looked into the same process and have gone back and forth with Bill Purley and also the company that has a belt filter press for sale that's basically brand new as far as hours are concerned, has hardly been ran. So we were looking into purchasing this belt filter press. The main goal would be that during the winter months we wouldn't have issues associated with an overabundance of sludge. And what ends up happening is we have to send it out to our emergency pond, which then lowers that capacity because it's filled with sludge instead of what its main purpose is, and that's to make sure that we have enough room for bigger storms. So the hope would be that we could purchase this. Part of the concern, I know, is where the monies are coming from to purchase this particular item. And one of the things that has come up is that there is what kind of moved this forward a little faster was that there's a certain amount of money associated with the existing wastewater project, and there's some change order money that's available to us to use. And the accounts right now are a little fuzzy as to how much, but we have at least $100,000, we think, and possibly $120,000 available still in the change order funds associated with the wastewater project. So the bulk of the monies that would be purchasing this item and the associated costs would come out of the change order funds associated with the existing wastewater project. I think you have in your packet, I hope, the three different major costs associated with this project. Of course, the purchase of the belt filter press itself at $60,000, the conveyor belt unit, which is just under $30,000, and the electrical costs, which is probably the bulk of this project as far as construction, and we got a quote of $35,000 for that. So estimated cost just under $125,000 for the total project. So I'm requesting today, based on the infrastructure meeting, one of the things that was brought up in the infrastructure meeting is it is used, but is there a possibility of receiving I can't think of the word I'm looking for, warranty. Thank you. A warranty on the project, and could we get a warranty from the person selling it? And I did pursue asking them, and they tell me there's no available warranty from them. So then I looked up a little bit more, and I went to Charter Machine, who has the rights to the Rodender belt filter press, which is what this is. And I talked with one of the main owners of that company about what the possibilities were. He indicated that was a very good price, and he wondered how I got it. And then he also said that they do startups, and that he has worked in the past with other groups as far as going and looking at the units, which is another thing that we discussed, of possibly getting a professional that knew about this. Well, these would be the professionals, because they're the ones who do deal with, operate, and provide service parts for this machine. So he said that that's a possibility. Of course, that would be at a cost to the city. I don't know what that would cost. He lives close to where this is, within 7 hours, so hopefully the cost would be somewhat minimal, but I haven't approached that yet because I wanted to get a direction from the council. The main concern, of course, is that it's used. But I have to refer back again to CCWD and Bill Purley and his recent purchase of 3 used bell filter presses that are all 3 in use. And they've had very good, from the same purchaser, very, very good luck with that. So I guess that's my presentation and what I'm hoping to do. One of the other things that came up in the infrastructure is what's the cost of a new one? Instead of going used, let's just, if we need this, let's buy it, let's purchase it. But it's probably close to another $400,000 to $500,000 on top of this existing cost to purchase one. So just to kind of give a perspective.
Question for Garrett.
Garrett, why don't you tell us or tell the audience what exactly this thing does?
Right now we rely on the sun to do our drying of our sludge. So we have a series of beds that we thicken the sludge through, we use a polymer and thicken the sludge and we pour it out onto, we have a total of 6 drying beds. And they work great for about 4 or 5 months out of the year, 6 months out of the year. The other 6 months during the winter months, obviously not as much sun, a lot more rain. It's more difficult to keep up on the amount of sludge. So the amount of sludge that comes into the city doesn't really change throughout the year. So the same thing that we do in the winter, or the summer, we're unable to do as efficiently in the winter because of the lack of sun and the rain associated with that. So what this unit does is it speeds up the process. It does it through a mechanical means rather than using the sun. And so through a mechanical means, it dewaters the sludge, and sorry for the description, but it squishes out the water, and what's left is a drier cake. And we take that dry cake and then are able to, during the summer months, dry it out. I hope that explains what you're asking.
Any other questions?
I have 3 questions, Garrett. The electrical cost, that's an estimate or one estimate, or do we follow the protocol and bid it out? Or?
I would bid it out. I was asked short notice to get a cost. So this was a cost, again, associated with what the cost
so it's a benchmark that you could use.
It's a benchmark that I was trying to write.
You made a comment that this was budgeted in this year's budget.
I had put it in this year's budget, and then based on our concerns and a 15% reduction, it was the first thing that got pulled out of my budget.
So it's not currently in the budget. That's why you're using the, what was it called?
It's change order funds. Change order funds associated with the existing wastewater project. It got pulled out of my budget.
That's a lot of that. This is the second time we've had change order monies, and so that's a lot of change order monies. Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty fluffy pot to pull from. I guess it's okay by us, I guess, but that's a pretty fluffy pot. So that's it. That's how I was curious as to where the money was coming from.
But you actually pulled it out of our budget. We didn't do that to you. You did that.
I pulled it
out of
a request of lowering my budget, and it was the easiest thing for me to pull because the other things are hard to
get around.
No more questions?
Yeah. Why don't you talk a little bit about the dryness of sludge issue that we've had in the past in terms of going to the county? Have we had any problems with that?
Yeah, if anyone has been following the county issue, we originally were paying $6.33 a ton to dispose of our sludge at the county facilities, and over the past year, they decided that wasn't enough, and so they now had changed their protocol in regards to the dryness of the sludge as well as the cost, and so it went from $6.33 a ton to $54 a ton. And so most of us in the county got together, were unwilling to pay that price, and have gone elsewhere at a much lower price than that, still higher than the $633, unfortunately. But the dryness was an issue.
Is it still an issue with the new vendor?
It's not an issue with the new vendor. In fact, ours was too dry when we brought it. So,
but with the dryer, is it what kind of a moisture content are you looking at to get out of the dryer, and can you then ship it in the winter months without waiting till the summer when the sun is out?
It is possible to ship it. With this process, it is possible to take it to them directly. You do pay a little bit higher premium during the winter months to take it there because they have to store it. They can't spread it out during the winter months themselves. So we have the available storage as long as the cake is thick enough. Oh, okay. If it's not thick enough, if it's water filled and we're pulling it off sooner, it's very difficult to contain it. You can come out at the end of winter, and you're happy to see what I'm talking about.
Lots of cake.
Okay. Public comment on sludge.
Stuart Radjo, 1625 South Main. I have a question for Garrett. Garrett, are we out of compliance with, once you get into the winter, we have drying beds out there, right? When I took a tour through that, some of that sludge was laying out on the pavement there. Are we out of compliance with the state by having that layout there?
No, we're not out of compliance with the state. Depending on when you were there, it could have been just after we did a cleanup. And we have a sweeper that picks that up. We purchased that last year to make sure that we didn't have issues of that. We did get a comment from the state in regards to the sludge, but that's something that we'll talk about later in the infrastructure meeting. We'll have to bring it up there first. But.
As an observation, any plant that's running has, as part of its capability, some kind of a filter press to dry its sludge. That's what you expect. The City of Angels has never provided that, and so here was an opportunity. The staff is making a recommendation. We should put that in place so that we can operate properly and in a better manner. Just as he said, if you go to other plants, this is a standard piece of equipment to take the sludge and to give it a preliminary drying so you can handle it.
Just as a side comment, we did think about maybe doing like a no flush day for Angels Camp, but I'm not sure how that would go. So, just kidding.
Did that come from the state or the county?
They're looking into it, every other day possibly. So.
Okay.
Right.
Any public comments? Any other public comments?
Steve, I'd just like to ask Garrett a question as far as prioritizing this. We've been doing this for a long time and getting by, and the expense that you're talking about is just, by your own estimation, is just going to affect probably 4 or 5 months a year. It sounds like it has not been such a big problem that paralleling our deficit situation, and that was your first choice to take it out. I would just make sure that we understand that as far as when we make a decision. It's sort of contradictory to understand it's not a priority, and we're still trying to accomplish bringing down this deficit this year. So it sounds like it might be a good investment for a private person to go buy this thing and sell it for twice as much and still make money. If it was $400,000 new and you're getting it for $60,000, I might look into that and sell it to the city in a couple of years for you guys. But when you have some money.
The reason it became more of an issue was the addition of the UV structure. because the UV structure has a certain tolerance on NTUs of the clean water coming through it. And so the reason this got moved to the forefront was associated with that.
Okay, you'll have to tell people what you mean by the UV and the MDUs and all that stuff, because the people do not know that type.
NTUs is the clarity of the water. And after the water comes through our filters, and this is our tertiary treated water, after it comes through the filters, it has a certain NTU value. That NTU value has to be below a certain threshold for the UV to do what it's supposed to do. With the existing system, we have chlorination. Chlorination can overcome turbidity. The turbidity might be higher. You can increase the chlorine to overcome the potential of the bacteriological potential that's associated with a higher NTU. So the reason it kind of moved to the forefront was, for one reason, the existing way that we're dealing with the sludge during the winter when we send it out to our emergency pond is not good practice. It's what we've had to do to survive, but it's not good practice. But what moved it to the forefront was when you have these higher NTUs associated with the ultraviolet, which is the new type of system that we're installing to disinfect the water, this is when the issue in our minds moved more to the forefront. And I took it out of the budget reluctantly, but that's. But hopefully that answers your question.
Any other good question? Any other questions, comments? Please come forward.
I am Judy Laws, and my address is 677 Smith Flat Road. I have a question and a comment. I believe this piece of equipment is just the sort of thing, is it not, that a community block grant could perhaps be obtained to pay for? Isn't that something maybe we could do? I know you can get community block grants for sewer work.
Okay.
Because in the community from which I come, we did just that. We got community block grants for sewer work.
Okay.
So I was hoping.
Thank you. Thank you. Gary, you want to speak to that? Community block grant?
Most of the community block grants are tied to job creation, that they're used for new construction type of things. We have several times. And Kelly Coffey directly called me all the time. I just see that they're usually tied to some type of job creation.
She's also told us, incidentally, that right now all community block grants are frozen, and there will be some time, at least until next year. So we do go through that process, Judy, but at this point in time, we would not actually consider a device of this type for a community block grant. We have other usage for it, but we've used other but right now those grants are frozen.
But isn't this coming out of the ARR?
Yes.
Fund?
Yeah.
You say yes, you say no.
This is not stimulus money. This is the loan portion of the stimulus package that we got. So that's the city. What I did is I recaptured past expenses, so we had money in case we had change orders, because the stimulus money does not pay for any change.
So, yeah, we're already into the loan.
So, yeah, we recaptured that money. It's about $214,000, somewhere. I don't know the exact number. But that money the city can use anywhere they want. It's not tied to the project, and it's not tied to the stimulus requirement. So they want to use it however they want.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Anything else? Any other public questions or comments? If not, we'll come back up here and with the Infrastructure and Facilities Group recommended to come here I don't remember exactly the basis, but it was basically to give an approval for that to be purchased, but we're going to have to bring it back to the council once you get a verification that the press is all right, and that we develop some specific cost information. But the idea is to get an approval from the council it's okay to go ahead and pursue the filter press project. And that's what we're looking for.
Can I make a motion?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the purchase of the belt filter press and costs associated with the purchase, subject to the going to bid on the electrical, and subject to an inspection of the press by whomever, but he's going to have to come back to us for that to get the money to do it. Probably. No?
Well, I have to figure out exactly how much that cost is going to be. The cost of me going over there is actually included from the seller.
Oh, it's included in there?
They've included that in their rock bottom price. The delivery and me going and taking it. Doesn't have to be me, but whoever going and taking a look at this. The part for us is that if we want a professional from there to go look at it, that would be something that we would have to.
The sentiment at the infrastructure meeting was considering the order of magnitude, it's over $100,000, that after the details are built up, it would come back here for final review and a final approval.
Okay.
And so your motion is correct that we should be doing.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Bodie and seconded by Morris. And Mary, you want to read that back to us?
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
In your letter from, what you received from
EcoPack, yes.
EcoPack, he's saying that if there's an inspection necessary, that they would consider an allowance for directing the airport providing a purchase is needed. So, is that in the agreement?
I think that if we went and looked at it and we decided not to purchase, that then we would be funding the flight.
I just want to make that clear that they would not pay for it.
Yeah. If you go down there and say you don't like it.
If I go down there and say I don't like it, it's.
Well, then we don't have a proposal because we don't have a press.
And it's a long walk back.
Right.
It is a long walk back.
Okay, call for a vote on, well, first of all, can you read us back just so we make sure that we've got it all spelled out, Mary?
Can I ask you the questions?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, Garrett.
No problem.
The warranty? I mean, you said you checked.
I said that
the one said no, but the other.
No, there's no available warranty there's no available warranty from those two sources. Now, I don't know if there's a way to get I don't know. That's something I can look into. But
and that was one of the things in the infrastructure we wanted him to actively pursue, to see whether he can't get that. And that may come back in the final package, that there be a warranty of some type, limited warranty or whatever.
They might give me a taillight warranty, but I'm not sure.
You can't have a ton of moving parts, can it?
It has actually quite a few.
Huh?
Yeah, they do have quite a few. Well, I mean, I could
It's
go
not
into
two bricks if he's squished together.
The other thing that came out quite extensively was the conveyor belt as being a big issue. Lots of discussion about that.
And I did get 2 quotes on that, actually, and this was not only the better belt, but a little bit better price. So
he has had the opportunity to visit CCWD's operation and look at their secondhand belt press, filter press, belt press, belt filter, and conveyor belts. So, okay, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? And Mary, if you have any questions, talk with Garrett.
Garrett, thanks for the education on building mud pies.
all over.
Okay. Item number 3. This has a public hearing and it has to do with ordinance number 448. And this is a formal public hearing. Before we go to that, are there any questions from from up here to Dave about what you see in the way of his letters or documents before we open up for a public hearing? Any questions? This is the second time that we're seeing it. We had seen it several weeks ago. If there are none, I'd like to open up for a public hearing to adopt ordinance number 448.
Mr. Mayor, I received a memo today from Mr. Fred Katz that he wanted to have read into the record. He couldn't attend tonight, but he wanted me to read this into the record. Basically saying, "Hi, David, I reviewed the revised zoning ordinance and note that section 17.30.070, paragraph F, paragraph 2 requires a 5-foot side yard setback, and section 17.30.070 F5 requires a minimum of 10 feet between buildings. These provisions do not allow for typical shopping center development where adjacent buildings are located on separate parcels, as is the case in Frog Jump Plaza. In the case of Frog Jump Plaza. At Frog Jump Plaza, the CVS building and the adjacent retail shops buildings are located on separate legal parcels but are contiguous to each other. The proposed revisions in the zoning ordinance would preclude this type of development in the future. This type of development is desirable because it allows for separate financing and or ownership of individual buildings developed in a shopping center. We request that these proposed revisions be deleted from the revised zoning ordinance."
And who is Mr. Katz?
Mr. Katz is the developer of the Frog Jump Shopping Center and owns approximately 11 to 13 acres just to the west of the Frog Jump to Frog Jump Shopping Plaza. So, I mean, basically, in terms of commercial development, to kind of give you some information about this style of thing. In a lot of commercial zones in the smaller, we have what are called zero lot lines, where buildings, just like in our downtown, where buildings are just right next to each other. In the shopping centers, they do those same type of things, but in this case, it's a little different, especially in the large format. In the large format, we are allowing, if the council approves this, we are allowing for the developer to build an 80,000 square foot building on a piece of property. If what Mr. Katz is saying, if we deleted that area, that means that they could build two 80,000 square foot buildings right next to each other, contiguous. And I know that was something that was brought up in the Planning Commission as well as fire. Regarding that, because of the size of the buildings. In the case of Frog Jump Shopping Center, that whole shopping center, to kind of give you an idea, is 42. The buildings equate to about 42,000 square feet. So all of the buildings on the property, including the McDonald's, is about 42,700 square feet. So, because it's just the way the makeup of the buildings are.
That includes Starbucks.
That includes Starbucks. Yeah, that includes
restaurants,
the restaurants.
CVS.
Yeah. All of those. Yeah. The CVS is approximately the biggest store on the lot, which is about 22,000.
I just want to make sure everybody understood it.
Right. So what has been done in the past is, as the developer would come in, he would, depending on who his major tenant would be, they would sell that person the property, and then to be able to finance the rest of the project, they would then subdivide the parcels, the remainder of the parcels, and sell off those parcels to developers to be able in connection with the mall. So, I mean, it's pretty familiar. So that's kind of what he's talking about. He's saying that with this ordinance that you would not be able to do that. You would have to have at least a minimum of 10 feet between all buildings. So technically what he's saying is we couldn't build any shopping centers. And that's not necessarily true. It's all based on the parcel split of how they split the parcels. So it could all be on one parcel, the whole building, the whole bit. So
that pretty much eliminates a strip like that. like what's there now.
Yeah.
That's the only thing they're objecting to?
Yeah. That's the only thing that he came up with.
Any other comments you have?
No, that was the only comment I received on the project.
And just for clarification, what you're recommending is an 80-foot square building. 80,000 square foot building, which is about 17,000 square feet more than the Mervyn's building in Sonora.
Yeah, and what I did today, and I handed you out a little packet, and I included Save Mart as part of the.
Anybody in the audience like any copies of this?
We can make copies. I didn't bring them up. I'm sorry.
Like copies? Anybody needs a copy? Let me make sure these people get copies.
To kind of give you an idea, what we did was we tried to take a picture of Save Mart, and basically it's Save Mart as well as the blood bank and the I forget, I think it's a nail shop on next to the Save Mart. If you turn to the next page, they're pretty much the dimensions of what this.
I'd like to make sure that the press gets copies while you're talking.
Okay.
Just so they have something to look at. And why don't you pass mine down there? It's a big deal, and I want to make sure that everybody has an understanding of it.
To give you an idea, Save Mart is approximately 241 feet long and 176 feet wide, which is approximately 42,416 square feet. Total dimensions needed for an 80,000 square foot building, and of course my calculation came to 80,085. I didn't have the exact square footage, but it's roughly 285 feet wide by 281 feet long. So it's definitely double the size of what Save Mart would be, pretty much, or a little less than double in one building underneath one roof. So, but I wanted to I know Craig asked about a comparison of what it is, and I use Save Mart because I tried to use CVS, but that's much smaller, and the dimensions of the shopping center were a little different. So that's why I chose Save Mart for that process.
One of the things that the citizens don't recognize, and it came up last night in some of the debates, is that we can, as a city, determine the square footage. We cannot, however, determine who comes in. I've heard that a lot. We're saying, well, I want Green Acres underwear outlet, but I don't want Cranky Pants underwear outlet. You can't decide which one you want. And so a couple years ago when I came and sat in here, a lot of people came to me and says, what's your opinion about it? And I said, well, what's your opinion about it? And so that's what spurred me to say we need some insurance. Whether we change it in the future or not, that's a whole different animal. But I was really concerned because a lot of people were concerned about that. And they said to me, well, I want, and I'm not going to use a name, but I want this store, but I don't want this store. You can't do that. We don't have a right to do that. And so that's why this is important in as much as it could preclude some outfits coming into here. And I think that just needs to be said. I think that a lot of people don't understand that. And it came up last night. There were some comments about that.
And not only that, but as part of the guidelines, I mean, we also are allowing development agreements. So that also gives the city some flexibility in terms of the specific development when it comes in. If some of the based on the trade-offs and those types of things. So, I mean, there is an ability to, based on an individual basis, to determine what's best for the city.
Yeah,
so,
but not by name of the store.
Yeah, not by name of the store.
Or the type of the store.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important message, and I'll have some comments after I hear from the public. But that's one of the reasons I was really concerned. Because there's a misnomer out there that says, well, I can pick and choose, and that's just not the case.
No.
They never do that.
They usually pick us.
Well, but that's what some of the residents understand it to be, and you can't do that. So.
Okay, any other questions?
Well,
go ahead. Comments?
Here. I've been in the real estate business a long time, and it's always been my understanding that on commercial, even on our commercial zoning, you can build on the lot line or you can build with common walls. And I understand this guy's concern. He's not going to be able to bring any satellite with him if you're going to have a 10-foot corridor between the buildings. And I don't agree with you that you can plunk two 80,000 square foot buildings side by side. They don't have the right. It's done by use permit anyway. They still got to come to us.
Well, yeah, I mean, you still got to go in front of the Planning Commission. I mean, that's what I mean is that in terms of the way they do it is it's the parcel division is all based on financing. It's not really based on the stores and the proximity to shopping centers, because they can put a shopping center on a parcel, on a 20-acre parcel. And the main division for, at least in commercial development, you're right, Jack, but it's mainly for financing. And so it's not really for design or that. So in this case, yeah, you put two 80,000 square foot.
That's not a worry, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think you're really, I don't have any problem with the 80,000 square feet. A couple years ago I would have, but I think there's a lot of stores coming out with that size of footprint now, 80,000, or maybe some of them even less. But the main thing is they're going to have to come before our Planning Commission, no matter what they do, whether they go 50,000 or 90,000.
Yeah.
But I think we're handicapping development if we stick to that 10-foot thing. That's my opinion.
Okay. Other public comments now.
I'm just confused about what you're talking about putting two buildings together, two 80,000 square foot buildings.
Well, in our ordinance, we have an acreage requirement.
Is this ordinance eliminating that possibility? This ordinance that you've got here right here, is that eliminating the possibility of two 80,000 square foot buildings being attached?
Yes. Yeah.
So that's the safety we want. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, that's the reason for the public hearing, to see what the pleasure of,
We're getting that input.
4-acre sites also.
5-acre sites. Yeah, we have two 5-acre sites.
So the other point of view is that there's somebody that's interested in having a 160,000 square foot building, this is the time for them to talk about it.
Well, I mean, what we're saying is that in the commercial zone, that the buildings have to have a separation based on the setbacks that are listed as part of the thing. So what they're saying is they're not liking is that they can't bump the buildings right next to each other on the parcel lines.
On the parcel line.
On parcel lines.
Oh, I see. Using a 5-acre parcel.
Yes.
Right. So if he's got 10 acres and now he's starting to split them because now he's got some retail development coming in. Now he has to, between the two parcels, he's got to have at least 10 feet, 5 from each side from that side yard setback.
And then your comparison about duplicating what's there already, what was 22,000 square feet total with all those buildings?
42, yeah.
Okay, 42.
Right.
So to duplicate that exercise on the remaining 10 or 12 acres that he has, hypothetically, the only way he could duplicate it would be have a 10-foot separation between each building.
No. He can duplicate it if he does it all on one parcel.
Yeah.
Okay, so
if he wants to sell parcels off like he did on this other one, so that he doesn't want to develop it all himself, so he sold the parcel off 5 acres. Then there's got to be a 5-foot setback on each one of those 5 acres.
On the property line.
On the property line.
But the buildings can be connected.
No, not if he separates it.
No.
We're talking about apples and oranges.
Right.
We're talking about an 80,000 square foot building versus a strip mall, which is what he has. Okay?
Right.
He doesn't like that term, but that's what it is. It's a strip mall.
Right.
Okay. Stop and think. If you had, the reason we put that in there is because if you have two 40,000 square foot buildings,
Right.
how do you get emergency access around it? He doesn't have that problem because he's only 100 feet deep of that.
Yeah, not even that.
So there's emergency access all around his buildings.
Right.
If you put two right next to each other, how would you get emergency access there rapidly? That's the main reason we put that in there.
And if he owned all the property himself, which he does,
Yeah.
He owns all the property himself, which he does. He still couldn't put two 80,000s up there because they're not
Well,
going
you could put two 20,000 together
Yeah.
on the property, or three
As long as he
15,000
owns all the
together.
property.
You just can't, anything, if it exceeds, if it's 80,000, you can't put it next to another
But you could
80,000.
build a strip wall by doing smaller buildings,
Well, yeah.
Which would give him some flexibility.
Yeah.
And this gives us protection, and it still has flexibility.
Right.
That's a key word, protection, because right now we have none. It's to require, I'm not an expert, but it's to require a developer to check in and start the discussion rather than say, announce, hey, this is what I'm doing.
Gary Coletto, Planning Commission Chair. I want to touch on a couple of things. One of them is Councilman Turco's comment is 100% correct. I have been in the commercial world for over 50 years. Let me explain to you. You don't choose them, they choose you. That's just the way it works. Touching upon this, as some of you are aware, the Planning Commission has spent over a year and a half putting this together because we realized it wasn't something that was just go ahead and do it down and dirty on. Bob Middleton of Middleton was a tremendous help to us. He was a commissioner at the time in regards to assigning areas to this. I myself worked with Macy's for 8 years, a small little commercial company you might be aware of, including additional buildings and adding storage to their buildings. Here's something to be thinking about. The maximum merchandising square footage relates to profitability and ROI, return on investment. The total square footage has to include support areas such as shipping and receiving, display and fixture room, bathrooms, administration, staff lockers and break rooms, staging, inventory storage, utility and mechanical rooms. You try to keep that when you're designing it to a minimum of 15%. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's why most of your big stores are basically a square configuration, because it allows for a little bit more of that. Also, total area also includes areas for aisleways, circulation, information, purchasing stations, fitting rooms, and emergency exit areas. That also you try to keep within 15%. So if you stop and think, if you're starting with 80,000 square feet, minus 15%, now you're down to 68,000 square feet. Take that 68,000 square feet, minus 15% again, and you're down to 57,800 square feet. Or basically 57 to 58,000 square feet of merchandising area. And that's what they look at, is the merchandising area. A good example of this, I don't know if any of you have been to the new Kohl's. Did you notice the aisle space that you had? Very, very tight. They jammed in as much as they could in a minimal space because it was an existing space. But there are areas in Kohl's right now, and I spent a whole day out there last week, that if you have a shopping bag in your hand, you cannot get through the aisle. But that shows you what merchandising is about. Remember, it's square foot of sales area. They're not that concerned about how you get around, so long as you pick something up and buy it. Also has been mentioned about, I believe it was the county and Councilman Turco also mentioned about the geography of 449. Merchandising does not look at geography as strong as it looks at demography. That's what they want to know. Who's going to come into my store? What am I going to sell them? Okay, in very simple terms. The numbers we came up with we felt confident about, and we, as you know, looked at many, many different areas. To try to find a large format store in a city with less than 10,000 people is almost impossible, if not impossible. But if it is the council's desire to revise the Planning Commission's recommendation regarding the square footage and/or percentages of the space allotments for sections 17.30.080 through section 17.30.100 of the SC Suburban Commercial District, the Planning Commission would greatly appreciate some direction and recommendations with substantiated findings as to those desired revisions. And the reason I ask that is you can play with numbers all night, but you need to have some backup for it. And the thing that we want to remember came out last night. Some place to buy shoes and underwear. Okay, we want to remember when you're down to this 58,000 square feet, as I mentioned, let's not be throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You have to consider if this is what the city wants, and it's up to the city, then you got to remember you have to make it feasible for somebody to come in and do it. Thank you.
Other public comment?
I just had a question for Gary. Are you
Come to the mic so everybody can get and we can record it.
Steve, are you saying that maybe 80,000 square feet is not feasible to attract what we might need somewhere down the line?
No, I think if you start going less than that.
But you're comfortable with the 80,000 square feet? In your diagram, your discussion about marketing, if it comes down to 57,000 square feet of marketing, that still would be enough of attraction if we ever get enough economic base to have somebody come in there and want to do it.
Based upon experience in Middleton's, but keeping in mind 80,000 square feet is 1/3 the size of a super Walmart.
Right. I just wanted to clarify. I didn't know if you were supporting or not supporting the remaining 50,000 square feet.
That's my last comment, because we, as Dave knows, we have a subcommittee, I was on the subcommittee, we bantered around numbers all over the place in a year and a half. And that's how we ended up. And again, with a lot of help from Mr. Middleton, who's pretty experienced.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll come back up here. I have a question listening to the comments. What happens outside of city limits? What is the... Pardon? Okay. Thank you. Close public hearing. What happens outside of city limits? What happens out in the county?
Whatever the county wants.
No, but I mean, do they have anything? They do not.
No.
I think that's important that the public know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, the county, nowhere in the county can. I mean, they have. Let me reverse that. It's unrestricted. Right. They can build as big a building as they see fit.
And at this up until this particular moment, the city's unrestricted.
Yep.
Not really. I don't agree with that.
You don't think so? We're not.
They still got to go a bunch in front of those people right there.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they still would have to go through the process, but there really are no guidelines.
They don't have the guidelines.
There's no.
No, they don't have guidelines, but they can sure give them some guidelines.
Well, yeah, and I mean, this even will cement it even more, so that at least there's a basis. There's a base.
Yeah, I understand all that. I understand that. I don't think they can walk smack dab in the middle of the county and plunk one of these things down.
No, they've got to go through the process. Yeah, they've got to all go through the process.
And the process can slow a lot of things down and change a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay. Any more questions up here?
I do.
Go ahead.
I didn't know if Elaine was going to go.
No, I don't have any questions.
I have to disagree, with all due respect to Gary, to you, about us having to determine by some rationale of what our square footage is, and I'll explain why. If the whole intent of this is to keep people at bay, let's be realistic. That's what it is. It's going to prevent some retailers, some large outfits from coming in here. Doesn't mean they can't downsize to fit the model, but that's what it is. It's a restriction. Let's tell it what it is. So if the restriction of the council should be smaller, whether it be 30,000 or 42 based on our current examples, then I think that's example enough. So I, for one, would not go out and do any kind of, entertain any kind of justification to the Planning Commission why I felt it shouldn't be. I think there's a whole other dynamic that has to be considered. And one of the issues I had was the quality of life. Now, there's two arguments, and I'm not going to get into a debate about what is good, what is bad. We have infrastructure impacts. We have all kinds of other issues that we need to talk about, quality of life, whether or not we're going to be the county stepchild because people drive in, they come here, yeah, they may spend some money here, but then they're going to drive out and we're left with what's here. So it's our quality of life that's impacted, not our neighbors in Arnold, Copperopolis, Murphy's, or wherever. So with all due respect, as a council member, I have that prerogative to say that. So, and Sonora is a city of about 5,900 people, 63 depending on who you look at and what numbers you see, and they've got some pretty darn big stores. So it's the demographics that come into it, and that's why the county would love us to be the shopping mecca. People could argue, well, look at all the sales tax and everything. I don't know if anybody realizes, but we only get 0.7 of 1% of the sales tax. So that is significant, and yeah, you could say, well, if you've got millions and millions of dollars in revenues, that could add up to some change. There is the other counterpart to it, and Dave alluded to it in his recommendations. You know, there's ups and there's downs that need to be weighed. My concern was we had something on the books, because you could walk in today, Jack, and Target could plop a 250,000 square foot thing based on the existing structure for the Planning Commission. So I see it differently than just having to justify 80,000. If I think, and the constituents that talk to me, or some of them talk to me, say, I don't want it any bigger than Middleton's or any bigger than Save Mart or any bigger than CVS, then that's what I have to consider. So, I just wanted to get that out there, because I think that there's more to this than just the economic side. Dave, you didn't talk and go into a lot of details about the infrastructure impact. I know there's some mitigated fees, but those run out after a while. But the impacts stay for a long time. And you don't need to get into that. We can argue back and forth about a lot of that.
Right.
So I just think that it's important that we look at this not just so much at, the type of store it is, but how it will impact the citizens here. To be quite frank with you, I don't care how it impacts the citizens outside of the City of Angels. God bless them. We love them as neighbors, but they'll come in and then they'll leave. So, and nobody's got a quantifiable number that tells me how that's going to generate, how much money that's going to generate for the cities. If somebody can give that to me, I'd love to examine that. But nobody's got a number other than just, what they say. So, anyway, I needed to say that. I need to respond in terms of what the council is. I'm not saying that you're not right in your opinion, but I think that we have the authority to take a look at that, or the ability to take a look at it a little differently than you folks do necessarily.
Yeah, and let me answer that, because you're 100% correct. The commission discussed this, okay? And really on the commission from this limited ordinance, our opinions have nothing whatsoever to do with it. We have to provide you the information. If the city wants to do that, then here's our recommendations. If the city doesn't want to do that, and that's all well and good, you can reduce that down to 20,000 square feet if you won't have anybody drop by. And by the way, the articles that everybody read in the paper about 20,000 square feet for the Walmarts and the Costco's and the European company, that's been going on for about 6 years now. And what it is basically is their boutique stores. You're not going to go in there and get towels and shoes and tires and anything else.
No batteries?
And predominantly what they've done is their boutique groceries, organic groceries, and this kind of a thing at 20,000 square feet. So don't be fooled by that article. That's been talked about for at least 5 or 6 years.
And if I may have the pleasure, just one last comment, and then I'll get off my soapbox about this. I am also concerned, and it was brought up last night, and I share this concern, I'm also concerned about our existing merchants. You'd have to be living under a rock in a cave under a blanket of snow not to recognize that when those come in, they will suck customers and volume and revenue from some of these stores. So I think it's an important consideration, and we didn't discuss that in this thing, but one could argue, I suppose, that a smaller unit may not have the same kind of impact or pull the same kind of customers from some of our current ones. I don't have the facts or figures to quantify that. It just kind of makes sense, But so anyway, I just want to get those things on, because it could have an economic impact to existing things. It could support in some cases, and it could be a downside. So it's a double-edged sword.
I can respond to that also. I'm sorry, but I have personally experienced exactly what you're talking about. And yes, people say it increases competition. couldn't be further from the truth. You buy 1,000, I buy 1. How does the competition work there? It's foolish to even think that way. But again, we couldn't look at it that way. You folks, remember, you folks can have apathy and empathy. Planning Commission cannot. All we can do is make a recommendation to you. So really, it's your folks' call. And like you say, Councilman Turco, it's up to what the city wants.
Is it closed? Is the public again closed?
Yeah. Yes.
Comment closed?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, these are clarification questions. Any other comments? Lee, Jack, Elaine?
Well, in response to Councilman Turco, I kind of like to see some people from Arnold and Murphy, Copper, and wherever else coming here to shop. I think it would help our little town, not only that particular center, if that's what it turned out to be, but there's in the old town. I think it would help. I have no aversion to people coming from, maybe the road finally would run from Sonora to here instead of here to Sonora, if we had the right kind of, and again, we can't choose it, but there's not very many of them going to come in for $80,000, although that footprint is now getting smaller, as we've talked about. And the only other thing that I oppose in that is what Mr. Katz is asking for. I think in the financing market today, I don't think that there's going to be very many people going to take 10 acres and put one store on it. I think he's going to be forced to cut it at least once. You can't cut it any more than that because we got a 5-acre requirement on there. But I think we got to allow these people to have the right to hook a satellite onto it or something along that line, as you're talking about. Anyway, I see no problem with 80,000 square feet. 2 years ago, nobody'd look at 80,000 square feet, but now they're sizing down. I don't see any problem with that. I like your percentages for outside, inside. That's about it, I think.
2 years ago, McDonald's wasn't going to be here.
I know. And next week, we're going to get our Big Mac.
I would also be supporting 80,000 square feet. And I believe with development agreements that, you can get everything you want, hopefully, in there. And I agree with everything that Gary said.
Okay. Do you agree with the setbacks?
Yes.
I would agree with the setbacks.
That's fine.
If again, you're looking for safety and access, and I would say that can be accommodated. Okay, any further comments? If not, I'd like to ask for a motion to adopt ordinance 448. Who wants to step forward?
I will when I find it. Where is...
You read right here.
Oh. I don't know what I did.
You want mine?
Yeah. Here it is. I make a motion we adopt ordinance number 448, amending Title 17 zoning, Chapter 17-30, Suburban Commercial Zone District of the City of Angels Municipal Code.
Is there a second? I'll second it. We'll call for a roll call vote. I'll start with Elaine.
Yes.
Craig?
No.
Jack?
No.
Lynch? Yes. 2-2.
Go back to that.
Ricky, where are you? You got some splaining to do, Ricky.
Okay, council, what's your pleasure at this point? Continue it?
Yeah.
You can't. You can't.
No, it's
Can't continue it? Well,
What you can, Mr. Mayor,
yeah.
yeah, we can take it back and do the whole we can go back and do the whole resolution of intent and bring it back forward again. I mean, based on, if that's the direction of the council. We can go back through the process again.
If at this point in time it's a stymie, that means nothing happens. We continue to have an exposure, which I find very unacceptable. Then some way or other, we have to have some dialogue in terms of overcoming objections to the ordinance.
Well, I think the nay votes were for different reasons, and I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to speak for Jack B.
Okay.
So maybe we need to have some dialogue with staff as to what those are. I think. I mean, I could certainly give you my thoughts. And
I'd like to see that happen because it's obvious that.
Well, I agree. I agree with you, Mayor, that we need to have some resolve to this, whether it be. Whether I'm the lone dissenter or whatever the case may be, but I think Jack has some issues with it. I have some different issues with it. If we give those back to you, then maybe I guess we could bring it back in a reconsideration. The reconsideration would have to come from either Jack or Elaine, and maybe there's some options available that we take a look at. I don't know. Can we do that, Richard?
You can send it back to the commission. You might want to back up and rescind your action because you basically denied it in a 2-2 vote. It would be cleaner if you just indicate that there's still issues and send it back to the commission with a specific inquiry regarding whatever it is you're troubled with.
I think, though, that what it comes down to with Jack B is different from mine. So there's just two issues, basically, that are preventing this from moving forward. Right. The size of it, in my opinion, and then Jack, I think, has an issue with the setbacks. So going back to the Planning Commission, all they're going to do is, well, we already recommended one. You want to recommend something different, and then run it up the flagpole again. So,
well, what we can do, I mean, I can sit down with you guys and go over your concerns and.
Okay, I'm looking for the procedure. How do we get off the dime? Because it's a matter of there are specific objections.
Yeah, there are two.
Can be accommodated one way or another.
One option. The second option, obviously, is to bring it back within whatever your policy provides for some reconsideration. It is in the form of an ordinance, so you're going to have to go through that procedure. And that is a benefit to the public.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes, it is.
If you slid it back, in a week from now or 2 weeks from now,
it comes back.
Going through the procedures that the ordinance requires, which is a public hearing.
So would we have to have we have to notice it as a public hearing and then wait 2 more weeks?
Yes.
So that means the minute.
Be 6 weeks total.
It would be.
Right?
I don't know.
Reconsideration is 2 weeks. You have to be within 2 council meetings.
Yeah.
So that's a month.
For anything that the council approves, there's 2 weeks. You have 2 weeks for reconsideration for anything. That's what it says.
Direct staff to review the procedures for reconsideration and bring it back to the council.
Yeah, because
without going to the commission.
Well, I think Craig made some good points. I think the commission's done their work.
I don't think we need to put any more burden on the commission. I think they've done due diligence.
They're saying it's our ball. We've got to resolve the objections.
So just refer it to staff to give you some sort of recommendation on how it comes back.
Because maybe that 5th council member will be able to break that tie one way or the other.
Very possible.
The important thing is that it be noticed properly, because
right.
you held a public hearing,
Right.
And I don't want anybody to feel like it was due because it comes back to you then when you go through
Right.
that process.
So that means a 30-day notice,
Well, that means
Well,
The notice between
it would require a 10-day notice. The first part would require a 10-day notice, and then we would then do the...
But
then we do
basically,
the
what
second
you're saying is we would replicate the process that we've already gone through.
Right.
We would come back with some revisions, waive the first hearing, and then we wait the 30 days, and then have the public hearing. So, is the council in agreement to doing that?
Yeah.
I would be.
I don't think we have any choice.
I don't think we have a choice.
No, but as far as the procedure, but I mean, in terms of undertaking it rather than just...
No, I would like to do that. I would like to bring it back. Maybe
Can you give us guidance as to what kind of a motion we would make?
What I think we would do is bring you back a recommendation.
We don't have to do anything.
With respect to how you can bring this back for reconsideration.
Okay.
What I'm telling you is that it needs to come back because it's essentially going to be a different ordinance. Even though the changes not being very many, they're significant based on what you're telling me. They're significant. The changes that you couldn't treat it, for example, as a
Right.
clerical.
Right.
For spelling.
No, there's not substantive change.
So we'll give you some guidance.
Okay.
Do we need a motion?
No.
Okay.
You just direct us to.
All right. Mary, can you read us what you have in the minutes then?
So direct staff to review and make recommendations as to how it comes back, and research the reconsideration procedures in the council handbook, and staff will come back with, city attorney will come back with guidance to the council as to how to
Okay.
proceed.
And you will give instructions as to how individual council members can be talking to staff with their specific input?
Well, we can go talk to staff.
We certainly can do that. What I'm going to
All right.
I wouldn't
You know where his office is?
I have a direct line. Big Mac Central.
We don't have to do that.
You have procedures in your handbook, policy handbook, regarding the reconsideration. I want to be sure those are followed and give you a recommendation of how this can come back to the
Right.
council.
And those that vote no can't do that. Those that
That's
said
correct.
yes, you can't.
The policy dictates that those who voted yes have to
That's the rule.
reconsider. Yes. That's what I did last time.
So these two guys can't do it, but Elaine Morris or I could say, yeah, we'll bring
So
it
if you
back.
guys bug out on us, then we're dead.
Yeah. It'll be a 700,000 square foot.
Are we clear on this?
Drink your pants underwear outlet.
I can't wait to read the newspaper description of this.
We're not done?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we're not done.
I
Okay.
wouldn't even put it in there, Chrissy. I wouldn't. Nah.
Okay, item number 4 on our agenda tonight is, we've passed on that.
Yeah, we continue.
And we're going to continue that. Last item, November 2nd council meeting, to consider rescheduling city council meeting date and/or time on November 2nd due to statewide election. In the past, on election day, oftentimes the meeting would be held in the morning, first thing in the morning. And sometimes it would be just a stand-up meeting at City Hall, sometimes it would be right here. This is not a voting place anymore, so we could have it first thing in the morning. What do you feel? How do you feel?
I don't care.
I'm not doing anything that night.
Not either.
You doing anything that night? Jack, you doing anything that night?
Watching baseball.
I'm not sure why it's a concern.
I'd propose that we do it 8:30 here at the fire station.
Okay.
I'll second that.
And that way we can, we've got space and we can, I don't like to plan it for a stand-up meeting at City Hall because we don't really know what we're going to have in the way of an agenda.
You be bringing the egg muffins?
Do we need to have public, I guess we have to have public comment, don't we?
Public comment on accommodating the next meeting at 8:30 in the morning? It's all right? Okay. Do we need a motion on that?
You made it.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we have it here at City Hall, 8:30 in the morning.
Second.
Dies of a lack of a second. Oh, no, it is a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Calendar.
Tomorrow, the staff meeting has been canceled because staff.
So because staff chooses not to have a meeting?
10 o'clock is TAC, I believe it's still at CalWorks, it's Portland.
Can you all hear Mary all right?
Sure.
I'll talk loud.
Okay.
21st Thursday, 8:30 a.m. here at the firehouse is the museum meeting. And next Tuesday, the 26th, the GPA at 5:30. And 10 a.m. there's JK revisions.
That's
right,
us, yeah.
not yes, but, 5:30 is UPA. Monday, November 1st is 3:30 Safety Services, 4 p.m. is Personnel Finance, and Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. here is City Council. MOU meetings Thursday at 8 o'clock. Sorry.
Okay. Meeting adjourned, 1 minute to 8 o'clock. Thank you for coming.